It's always weird getting back into these because like I always feel like, oh, how do we start these? Like but it's like I guess we just read, right? Like,
I know, yeah. I was just thinking like, huh. Well, and actually, it hasn't been too long of a gap since the last episode. It was only April, yeah, April 13th, I think, or April 8th.
Oh, okay. Well, that feels right. A lot happened between
That's true.
then and now, so yeah. So just to kind of go back over what I think you might have a slightly better memory of what happened. I mean, I know that we basically witnessed like the same thing happen to like 3 different people, basically where they all got kidnapped by Mr. Ugly or something
by
like
the man
that.
with the constantly shifting face. Yeah, but he's very pale and white.
And one of the characters was very rich and snobby, and then 2 of them were not. So that's what I remember.
Yeah.
And then I think there was like also like was there a guy in there? I don't remember if it was all girls. I don't remember.
That's
the
thing.
Basement of Teens. Yeah.
I think it was all girls because like the second chapter had a character that we thought was a guy, and then midway through it's like she said, and we're like, wait, she or something. So.
Yeah. So the first 3 characters are Iva, Sage, and Everett, and they are all girls. And then I'm trying to think of what was happening in this 4th chapter because that was where I feel like weird stuff started happening.
I think it was like their priorities weren't straight, and they were just like, I can't believe what a cute guy
Nathan
that
was
is
dumb.
or something.
Yeah, like they're like tied up in a basement and they're just like, it's just all this random stuff. And then also there was like a jealousy warning.
There were lots of like really oversensitive trigger warnings, which I mean that in and of itself is whatever. But this story takes it to like a whole nother level. So,
Chapter 5, The Others.
All right, I'll start this one.
All right.
Author's note. I'm sorry that it's been a while since I last updated, but my Scholastic Bowl team won our conference tournament. Woo!
What the hell does that even mean?
All right, we are going to regionals next, so wish us luck.
All right, you're gonna make it to what is that, nationals? So keep at it.
By warning, there's low self-esteem here, but it's a Sage chapter, so that's a little implied.
Obviously, because at this point, fucking 5 chapters in, we already know what a Sage chapter is.
Yeah, typical Sage.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like Sage is like kind of a what is it, like, Eeyore? So yeah,
pretty much. Yeah. All right, let me adjust my volume here. There we go.
Yeah, as I'm just shouting in your ears. Your ears are like bleeding. Like, let me just dial it down.
All right. Sage point of view. I woke up sitting in a cold room. I looked around and saw I wasn't alone.
Oh, more of the same shit.
Oh boy, well, this is good. This is a recap. It's been like a month since we read this, so this is good.
Yeah, it's good too because whenever it's a rule of thirds with this book too. So it's like when the second time you hear the same story, you're gonna get it the third time.
A good author always inserts a recap every other chapter, So
right.
There were 2 other boys and a beautiful girl, but the boys were really skinny, tall, and relatively tan. The girl was skinny, tall, and quite tan.
What is the difference?
As you can, there's a spectrum here, as you all know.
Relatively, so in relation to the others, but yet one of them is quite tan, so he must have been. I guess he was like a little tan because she was quite tan. Like, what does this mean?
She had long blonde hair. They were turned away from me and were talking. I tried to run my hand through my hair, but something pulled my hand back. I looked to see what was holding me down, only to find my left hand chained to the wall with a medieval handcuff.
I noticed that I myself was rather tan at the moment.
How did that happen?
Rather, quite, relatively. It's all.
I was only partially tan last time I checked. I was more terrified than when I was taken. I looked around more with wide eyes. There were several more pairs of chains and a wooden door that was probably locked. I won't check, I guess. I'm just going to assume it's locked.
Yeah.
Out of all the places I could have been chained, I was chained in the corner of the room.
Oh, yeah, that's always the worst part of the room.
Out of all the places, out of all the 4 walls, like at the corner.
Historically, much worse than an edge. So, I mean, what do what else are you going to be? Yeah, whatever.
Typical Sage. Always a downer. The room was quite bare, except for another room and a small cabinet next to it.
What? Wait, what does that mean?
So there was like a hallway into another room or something, or a door?
Wait, the room was quite bare except for another room.
Was that
another room next to it, maybe. So it's bare, but the room is still bare if there's... You know what I mean? It's like, this room is completely empty except there's a room next to it. Like,
there are 2 separate
what
rooms,
does that mean?
So that's not part of the first.
Yeah, it's like that's a different room now. So yeah. Small cabinet next to it. That's the more interesting part, maybe.
Yeah, I wonder what's in the cabinet. I saw from an open door that there was a small bathroom with only a shower, toilet, and a sink.
So it's more than one room, right? Or is that this other room? Is that the cabinet? I don't even know where we're at.
I want to say that is the other room, I think.
Yeah.
Each set of chains had an old sleeping bag, blanket, and a pillow. I held my knees close to my chest as a tear went down my cheek. Why me? Why couldn't it have been Kate or someone else who deserves this? But I knew it was just my luck.
What a downer, man. He can't even get kidnapped without being, like, a real pessimist about it.
I know, jeez, lighten up.
Or she, sorry. Yeah, oh my god, there we go again. With
At least you got a room with a whole other room in it. I mean, come on. And a cabinet.
Your name's Sage.
I felt someone gently kick my foot. I looked up to see both boys staring at me.
Gently kicking.
My name is Nathan, said the one that had bright blonde hair and sparkling blue eyes. That's Ivory, but we call her Iva, and he's Carter, Nathan said, gesturing to the brown-haired, green-eyed boy and a beautiful girl. I noticed they looked quite alike.
I wonder, like, how many times you, like, introduce someone and, like, this is this person's full name. This is their nickname.
Here's a complete description of their features.
Yeah, this is their middle name. We don't generally address them by that name.
Their same features, too. Like, it's always hair color and eye color, which I assume, you know, it's because it's the easiest for, like, a burgeoning author. That's the easiest way to describe a character. But,
yeah, yeah. It's like, and then you add in, like, oh, well, blue eyes, that's kind of boring. Sparkling blue. There we go.
There you go. Now I'm an author.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Name and age? ASL?
Yeah, what the hell is this? Omegle? Like,
she sounded used to it, like a morning routine.
What's that sign?
I'm 15, and my name is Sage. They looked at each other surprised. 15? We thought you were 13, Nathan said.
Wow, only 3 years?
Looks like I owe you a Coke. We like to have fun down here in the cellar. To be fair, I get that a lot. What is this fucking? Are we at lunch or something? What is this? Why is this casual conversation?
Yeah.
In the cellar?
Yeah.
It's understandable, you know, in this dimly lit cellar we're
to be fair, it's like
yeah.
To be fair, last time I was chained in a sex dungeon.
I'm quite malnourished right now because I've been starving in a cellar, so it's hard to tell. All right. Well, I was unconscious for. Was I conscious for a long time? My head hurt so much, I whined. Typical. I knew it sounded petty, but it felt like a railroad spike was being driven through my skull. That is oddly specific. Wonder if this person knows about Phineas Gage. About a day, probably longer than any of us, Carter said. Wait, what?
I think they were all unconscious for a period of time.
Oh, okay. I thought like they said she had been here for a longer period of time. I was like, well, that doesn't make sense.
Who knows? I mean, Mr. Ugly can't, you can't like, bilocate. So
time flows unevenly in Mr. Ugly's cellar. So
that's probably true.
I didn't want to ask questions because I knew I probably wouldn't get answers. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, all right. It's just a lack of motivation here, I guess.
Yeah. That's always like a realistic character trait. Is like, well, we can't reveal too much of the story yet, so I'm just gonna not ask questions. Like,
I'm not gonna ask questions because the answers given by the author won't be satisfying.
I'm not gonna be confused about why Carter, who seems to just be joking around with everyone, what he knows. I'm not gonna even ask. So.
Sage's just so depressed, like, oh, I could be concerned, but why bother? I'm still here.
I'm just gonna die here.
Ho-hum.
At least it's
So, Sage, tell us about yourself. Nathan said, his blue eyes sparkling. And then weird parentheses here. People can be terrible. Carter. Oh, this is a little author trick where they skip over repeating the same information to the reader because, no one likes to hear the same stuff multiple times in a row.
That author trick, which can be symbolized by hyphen, left parenthesis, right parenthesis, hyphen. Everyone knows that little trick,
mean, that's
right?
My shorthand. I say that in regular dialogue. So.
Rather than, what I've seen some authors do, which is Sage, launched into the tale of how, she was kidnapped and like all the stuff and talked about her life. Like, that's a passable way to do it, but I also kind of like the stylistic choice of hyphen, left parenthesis, right parenthesis, hyphen. So
yeah, it definitely doesn't make the reader think that they just read over an edit of some kind. No.
It definitely doesn't feel like a I'm gonna go back and add this in later kind of thing, which is what I'm pretty sure it is.
Yeah, and I'm glad the author didn't want to repeat herself because Lord knows this story just would be a bit more awful, I think, if it had so many repeating instances,
Yeah, I'm just really glad that every chapter is fresh and unique, and we really reduced the redundancy here.
I know, so good on the author for even shortening this more. It's quite an expedient story.
Definitely a book that makes use of the multiple character,
perspectives.
Kind of perspectives. Yeah. Much like Pan's Kiss.
Thanks for keeping it real. Anyways, people can be terrible, Carter frowned. After hearing the whole story, I didn't disagree.
Was that related at all? Like, what's the story? Also, like,
I assumed the story was that she got kidnapped. Like, that's what she focused on.
people can be terrible, Carter.
Yeah,
after hearing the
kidnappers,
story.
they're pretty awful.
It's like, yeah, kidnappers, they're the worst.
What are you gonna do? Anyway, you want your rations? I don't know. I don't know what they're talking about here.
It's quickly moving along.
What about you guys then? I asked, subtly trying to change the subject. Well, all I can remember is that Carter and I were walking home from a movie. We were almost home when El Face Swap jumped out of the bushes and whacked us in the head, Nathan said.
I've got to that in Spanish 102. El Face Swap.
Yeah, whatever. Anyways, Nathan said, crossing his arms, if I try to remember anything else, I get a huge migraine and I lose all the progress I might have made. He frowned.
It's almost like there's a railroad spike being driven through my skull.
How accurate of a statement. So you two were together when he took you? I asked, curious. Yeah, my 14th birthday.
What a curious reply.
Let's imply with a question mark.
Yes, curious, and curious replied that.
Yeah, my 14th birthday, 4 weeks ago, was when we were taken, Nathan said sadly. Wait, how did he keep track of time? I guess maybe he's scraping on the wall or something, like Italian marks.
Every sunset? Like, what do they do?
Oh, yeah, wait, unless he's counting the seconds as well.
Yeah, maybe.
He's really dedicated.
It's like, maybe the other guy's like, just like twitching in the corner, like, 406,
He's like, I've actually been counting the seconds since I've been kidnapped. That's my my character gimmick. I'm super smart like that.
Yeah, like, that's my trait. I'm smart and obsessed with time. With the passage of time, and I am a handy guy to have around. But I have no social skills.
If it's daylight savings time, I get thrown off, though. Are you both 14? Nope. Nathan's 15, Carter said.
Whoa.
All right, slow down there. In about a month, I'll be 16, I thought. Getting old, Sage.
Yeah. Getting old in more ways than one.
You may not make it to 16 if you stay in the cellar, Sage. Come on, why don't you focus on the real issue here?
Right. It's like, just, ask this guy that's counting the seconds and tell me when it's my 16th birthday.
She gets all, introspective, like, oh, man, it feels like it was just yesterday when I was walking out the streets, not kidnapped. Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Those are the days of my youth.
I'll be 16, I thought. Who thinks that? Like, who's like, someone's like, I'm 15. In a month, I'll be 16, like, in my head. Getting old. Like, what is it?
I guess
just like
it's
a strange
fitting for Sage. So.
Yeah. Well.
Ivory hadn't said a thing since I woke up. I hoped this would change. She seemed like she could be decent. All right.
What? I guess, okay.
What do you mean by that? The way she's, like, just laying there limp, like, she could be decent, I guess.
Yeah, I kind of see something in her, I love the way that she, doesn't talk. Acts like she's kind of dead.
That's
I kind of like
plus.
that. Yeah, okay, good.
After a few hours of talking and getting to know each other, I heard the door creak. Oh man, something's finally happening.
Great.
We all went silent as that thing came down with trays of food. He set one in front of each of us and left. I didn't know how hungry I was until he had gone through the door. We all ate in silence. Nathan handed Carter his plate and Carter tossed it in a box. He held out his hand, so I gave him my tray. Oh, they're doing cleaning right now.
Jesus.
So Carter went around asking, may I take your waste, please?
Can I wash your dishes? What is that like in a basement, I wonder?
Yeah,
tell us more.
I like how there's like a little society going on here. Carter is the trash man right now, this week, so.
Yeah.
Iva finished soon after and cleaned her plate up. After a while of silence, I asked, so, do you have a name for this place, or is it just called the Mr. Ugly's Basement of Teens? I asked, trying, emphasis on trying, to make a joke.
That's pretty funny.
Everyone burst out laughing, and our moods were instantly lifted.
I like that, it's pretty much acknowledged that no one lauged, which I like. So any mention of it's omitted. So.
Just looking at them like with sullen, sad eyes.
Yeah, it's like no, we actually don't call it that. It's like
he beats us if we laugh too loud, so we try not to laugh anymore.
Yeah, it's like there's no time for your jokes. Like they finally crack down on her.
It's like no, we call it what it is, the cellar. Carter said, adding an ominous tone and hand gestures to the cellar. Wouldn't you just like? This is so weird. Like, why is he putting the theatrics on? They're kidnapped in a cellar. They don't know where they are. Like, they don't think there's. I don't think there's any chance of them being rescued at this point in their mind. So why are they adding to the drama of the situation?
Well, I'm actually even fine with that. What I don't get is like why they're all like just like having these casual conversations, and it's like, oh, we're in the cellar.
Yeah, like,
Like,
they've adjusted very well to being kidnapped, so that's good.
yeah, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, all of a sudden now we're being serious. Like now we're actually acting like we maybe would in this situation. All right, that's strange.
And the bathroom that is next to the... Oh, okay. Let me back up a bit. No, what we call it is the cellar, Carter said, adding an ominous tone and hand gesture to the cellar. And the bathroom that is next to the cellar, Nathan added. I laughed, but it sounded real, which was weird. I don't remember the last time that happened. I guess that's how she laughed.
What? What does that mean? And the bathroom that is next to the cellar, Nathan added? What is it?
I guess his joke is like, no, we call it what it is, the cellar. And the bathroom that is next to the cellar. Like, that's their add-on name to the other location or something. I don't know. It's a very sloppy executed joke.
Yeah.
I'm not going to die on a hill for this one, but I'm just...
No, this has me in stitches, man.
That's my take on it there.
Yeah, what a hot take, too.
This is my life now, so I guess I'd better get used to it. What a great protagonist. I can really get behind. Well, I'm kidnapped. I guess that's the state of my life right now. That's the
I guess this is all for me.
That's
Whatever.
the state
I'll
of
turn
affairs.
16 in here. Yeah.
No holding out hope that I'll be rescued. It took like not even 24 hours, and it's like, oh, I guess I'm gonna die here. Oh
no,
well.
that's great.
I
love it.
I thought, leaning my head against the wall, at least there was someone to talk to, unlike at home, school, or anywhere else where I wasn't invited. At least.
Well, it sounds like Mr. Ugly's basement was like the best thing that ever happened.
Yeah, it's Mr. What's his name? Mr. Ugly's daycare. I mean, I almost said Mr. Drug. At least Kate wasn't here, and she and my old friends couldn't torment me anymore. No, just Mr. Ugly can torment you now. Like, all right. That night there was a loud squeak, like a door that's hinges haven't been oiled in years.
Wow, something else is happening finally.
I
that
sat
thing
in
is
bed.
towards us. Yeah.
I sat in bed confused. It was so dark I couldn't barely see, so she could see just fine.
I couldn't barely see, so I
It was so
I
dark.
could see like normal.
It was so dark it came full circle around. My retinas were allowing me to see just fine. The door opened and I pretended to sleep. There was a thud. The door squealed closed. I sat up again and saw a new kid, a boy, I think. He wasn't very tan. Why is that like a point of like reference for his looks? Their tan scale. But he was darker than me, had dark hair, and the room was so shadowy that I couldn't tell.
So why mention he had dark hair if you can't?
This is all reckless
actually
speculation.
tell?
So I'm just spitballing here. It's part of the game I'm playing now.
Yeah, why not even say, oh, in the morning light, which came through from fucking where? Because they're in a basement. So why does it matter? What? And then I guess there's a light they turn out. I don't know. And then. Yeah, why did you say, oh yeah, wow, and then I noticed he had bright blue hair, whatever, like, rather than, like, he had dark hair, but I couldn't tell anyways, so, like, just as an aside, though, it was dark, don't worry.
He was unconscious, so I got a pillow and put it under his head, trying not to wake him. I draped a blanket over him and went back to bed. Well, I feel like if he's unconscious, he's probably gonna wake up, right? Like, it's the difference between being unconscious and being sleeping, like,
yeah.
But, that's just nitpicking, so. Also, 963 words. That's
wow, big whoop, you wrote almost 2 pages, holy shit.
Yeah. All right,
Good job.
author's note here.
I don't know what she wants.
So, what do you think? If I'm being honest, this thing has a lot more reads than I expected it to.
Basically, it's so wow, this is actually crazy. People are reading this. I didn't. I
didn't think it was that good.
Yeah.
We have a new kid. What do you think he's gonna be like? Any guesses for what his name is? Here's a clue. It starts with an L. Well, that narrows it down.
How about this? I don't give a shit. Sorry.
Anyway, hope you liked it. Credit to Z Sky 13 for this chapter. She did most of it. I knew a third party's handprints were all over this.
Yeah. It's like, here's a chapter I wrote. By the way, I wrote none of it. So, that's great.